Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to start off by looking at Outlook. Now, do bear with me because I know that most of you are probably massively proficient at Outlook. But, you know, just to make sure that we're all covering all bases, apologies again, this is my live mailbox, so if there's anything dodgy, I'm the recipient, not the sender. So as I'm sure you'll be familiar with, the homepage of Outlook looks very similar to this. I'm sure you have yours laid out slightly differently. I know Janie prefers to see more emails and no preview of emails.
I prefer that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I suspect that.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, maybe it was Amy then.
No, I don't like it because if I click on things by accident and then it shows as red, I like to.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of tips and tricks. So what you'll notice, first of all, in the top right-hand corner, we have our favourites, which is consistent no matter where we are within Outlook. So if you find that you've got subfolders in subfolders in subfolders, as you'll notice I have, I'm just going to expand this one so you can see just how quite embarrassingly long it is. You can click and drag those up into your favourites so that they're there and easily accessible. So if you find that you're working with clients commonly and you want to, you know, be able to access that file, it's very easy to click and drag or easily right-click to remove that from your favourites, and that can expand.
Can I ask you about clutter? Because we had this conversation,
Absolutely.
didn't we? I haven't got clutter set up. I don't know if anybody else has, but what are the fors and against it kind of thing?
That's a really good point. So clutter is a fairly new feature to Office 365. It's around a year old, and it essentially analyses your mailbox to understand things that you don't necessarily want to go to junk, but you might not want cluttering up your mailbox. Now, I think it makes some fairly large judgments at points.
Yeah, because all mine went in, just so everybody knows, all my emails to Lucy went in clutter, so she didn't see them.
I know, how rude. Yeah. So to keep, obviously, that's why mine's in my favourites there, because I can keep an eye on how many are unread within my clutter. As you can see here, most of them are kind of newslettery type mailers that I probably do want to read, but not always. If you have got clutter enabled, that's brilliant, and I think by default you should all have it. So do have a bit of a look as to what's going on within clutter. If you're finding that there are emails going in there that you don't want to go in there, you can simply select one and then remove from clutter. Move back to your inbox, and Office 365 will automatically assume that you're happy to receive that kind of email, and it will stop. So it uses its AI technology to understand what it is you want to read. Likewise, if you're commonly moving emails out of your inbox into your clutter, you can click and drag. Let's take this one as an example, this automated email from Microsoft. I can drag that into my clutter, and Office 365 will make the assumption that that's the kind of email that I want to
So
go
that it will
there.
always automatically, any other ones from there will go into clutter.
Absolutely.
Right,
So it is fairly clever. You can disable it if you want to, but I think it's probably worth working out how you get on with it to start with. So moving on, in terms of organising your mailboxes, what you will find, and I know this is something that's going to come up particularly in the future with the new recruits, is that you can have as many mailboxes as you want open. And again, I've got a rather embarrassingly large amount of access to mailboxes here. Even Basil, the office dog, has got a mailbox that I can access. No, he's not particularly active at all. But you can use the small arrows to shrink them up to see them in more detail. You can have as many items in your favourites as you wish. So if you are working on the inbox of another mailbox, a shared one, you can click and drag that up to your favourites and access. So I can access Basil's inbox really quickly from my favourites now.
Lucy, on that topic,
Yeah.
so I've got old emails. We ran a program years ago called the Data Center Architect Roadshow, and I've still got email addresses from that. Obviously, I don't want to lose those emails, but at the same time, I don't need them here all the time, if you know what I mean.
So there's two ways we can handle that. What I would suggest, and I'm going to jump out of Outlook now to show you, is to prevent Outlook opening all of your emails. You can say, I only want quickly and easily accessible 12 months worth of emails, for example. And we can do that from the mail
That's across
settings.
all mailboxes, isn't it?
Yes, but the good thing about that is that when you first open up Outlook, it'll open up really quickly. If you do indeed want to find an email that's more than 12 months old, you can search for it and it will still appear.
Okay.
So that's...
I find the search facility, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but compared to, I say how it used to be, I sound really old now, but how, since it's got so dynamic, sometimes when I used to search, it used to come up quite easily, but whereas now it doesn't, even though I know that there's something either in that title or whatever, it doesn't seem to, and I need to, again, disable, when I send to it from my phone, it BCCs me, I need to remove that as well, because then I'm getting multiple,
double. Yeah.
And the search facility for me is not as...
So a couple of quick tips on the search facility then. Sorry.
And I know that Karen and I had a similar issue where we were looking for a specific email that she had, and unless we typed exactly, it was the bourgeois, whatever those. That
Yeah, we
company
had to
was.
use the asterisk, don't we, for
Yeah,
wildcard?
that's a really good tip. So you can use the asterisk as a wild card to look anywhere within the email, or also the email address, or anything, the subject, whatever's included within the email. Another tip, so let's take Amy as an example.
Okay.
Another tip is that by default you're looking just within your own mailbox, within the current folder.
Yeah.
So you can drop down to look in all mailboxes, or indeed all Outlook items, which you'll also find appointments and, very importantly, Skype for Business.
But that has its pros, and it's because when I search like now, and it brings up all the Skype conversations. Say you've had say something, whatever training, and it'll bring up. Is there any way you can filter and say, I know it was an email and not a Skype conversation? Is there anything that
If you don't select all Outlook items, it will just look within email.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
I'll
I've
just
done,
check that one.
mine's having a good old think about it now, because I've got loads of emails, Skype for Business meetings from Amy. so it's taken a bit of time, but yeah.
Right.
In fact, I think it's taken so long, it's frozen. Classic. So yeah, using the asterisk, as you guys mentioned, really does help with that.
Okay.
Or indeed, using the icons in the search tab that appears as soon as you go into the search is really useful. A common one I use is the has attachments, which you may be familiar with.
What do you use?
The has attachments search. Yeah. And also the from and the subject, so you can be really quite specific about what you're looking for, and then drill down also into the time that you know it was sent. Right. One of my favourite features then is this recent searches. 100 times out of 10, I found that email from Amy with attachments, and then I've jumped off to go and send it to someone, and then I need to go back to it again. I can quickly
keeps it recent searches.
Recent
that's
searches.
good. Okay.
That's a new one.
Is there any way you can kind of bookmark where you are? Like, because quite often I'm going through stuff, tasks, and then I get distracted, and then I have to select them all again and go down again. Can you kind of save where you were, if that makes sense?
Recent searches.
Yeah, I mean, do you mean you were in a subfolder or something?
Well, no, I was just working through the things that are flagged as tasks. Yeah. And then an email comes in, so I go off and I look in the inbox, but then I can't get back to very easily to the exact place I was before.
Well, you could use there isn't, I know what you mean, like a back button in like the web browser, but you could go to the search and hit flagged, and it would go off and search all your flagged items, which would kind of take you back to where you were. It would help you find it a lot quicker, that's for sure.
Searches do it.
But if I was like in that, looking at that list now, if I was like on the 10th one down, the one before the done, the Sid Adley, and I was looking at that, and then I go back and look at my inbox, how could I quickly get back to the position that I was in before?
In that scenario, then go back to your search, so click in the search bar or use Control and E to get there, and then hit the flagged again, and it'll take you back to where you were.
Yeah.
I was in all.
But it doesn't take you back to the exact email you were on, does it?
No, sadly not. No. Well, the other alternative is what I would do in that scenario is, say you found the bunch of emails you want to work on. You can select them all by Control and A or clicking and dragging them all, and just open them all up.
Right. Okay.
And then you can work your way through those windows.
Yeah.
That might be a way around it.
Yeah. Okay, I thought you might just be able to sort of just bookmark where you were, kind of thing, and go back to the email you were looking at before you got interrupted.
Don't go and get that cup of coffee.
Thank you.
I had to comment, Lucy, that you've got so few items in your inbox, because I've got 74,000 in mine.
I find when I work with lots of different organisations, you're either an all or nothing, and I use my inbox as a to-do list.
Yeah.
And if there's more than 700, I get a bit worried, to be honest.
I used to use my inboxes, but I had over 15,000 at HP. I've got 1,500 now. I'm a bit same. I keep everything in my inbox.
I've got 74,000 though.
Has anyone else noticed that if you've done a select at the top, you've done a search and you've selected a group of emails, that you can't unflag the to-do flag? You can't mark it as as done unless you take the selection off?
You should be able to. Let's just...
Yeah, just click on the flag.
Yeah, got rid of something that I didn't.
It doesn't seem to work on mine. If I've done it at that point, it used to, but it doesn't anymore. I have to take the selection off.
Okay, I might remote in and have a quick look at that if that's all right.
Okay, thanks.
Seems to be working all right at this end. But
Right.
in answer to Janie's, not really a question, but if you do find that you want to sort of have a bit of a spring clean of your mailbox, I think, and I'm not suggesting that you need to, but you might, I do find that one of the best ways of doing it is by starting with the search. So let's say I want everything from Misco, because I'm done with them, I don't need to confuse myself with them, and move them to the Misco folder. I would do my search. I can obviously then select all and just drag them into the subfolder that I want to put them into.
Control and A select all.
Absolutely.
So when you've done a select, Control and all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And Control and E to get back to the search.
Okay.
I'm going to be quoting a lot of keyboard shortcuts today.
Yeah, that's good. Control
I'm a
A.
massive keyboard shortcut fan. I'm sure you guys are as well.
Control E is what?
Take you to the search. It puts the focus in the search.
So just in terms of what's good practice then for your in tray, what is good practice? I mean, I love having everything in my in tray because I'm always searching. I sent so and so an email, and of course, by doing that, say Misco search, I may have stashed it away somewhere, and then I can't find it.
Well, I guess it's personal choice, really. But what I would suggest is probably having some subfolders, even if they're generic. So like mine, I've just got clients or vendors. So they are fairly generic, and I never really go and look in them because, like you, I just search. So what I would suggest,
all of them.
And it searches all of them. So by default, you might want to change what you're searching
for.
For.
Inbox, actually, but they're subfolders in your inbox.
They are. Yeah, they are.
So how many items have you got in your inbox altogether?
304. Not altogether, no.
Yeah,
no.
You can't see that.
No.
So you may have 74,000 as well then.
Yeah, I probably do. Yeah, yeah. I just don't need to confuse myself.
I feel better about that.
Yeah.
I'm a great believer in rules as well, because then that automatically sort of sorts it out for you.
Absolutely. So
I run
a
a lot
nice
of
segue
rules.
to my next point around rules. And thanks, Angela. I'll pay you later.
Right.
So another way of sort of automatically organising things, which I think is a bit, in terms of best practice, is a bit, really depends on how you get on with it, is by creating a rule that automatically sorts your email into another mailbox. So to create a rule...
It's giving up control though.
It is. I mean,
Jodie and I both look at each other, we're like, oh.
I mean, particularly if you're working on a shared mailbox and you don't want to be confused by something that's sent to someone else. Or I quite commonly say, if I'm CC'd into something, siphon it off, because I'm obviously
people
not.
used to do that a lot, like like managers, directors used to go, unless it's a 2, then I'm not even going to read it. It'll come back to me.
Well, and you can always refer to it. You could have it quite quickly in your folders. So taking this email from Janie, if I right-click on that and navigate up to rules, here I can view the rules that I've already got or create a new one. No, not at all.
But it's my very important person bit.
So it's tried to understand what rule I'd like to create already by looking at the email itself. So obviously Amy and Angela are also included in this email, but actually those aren't the rules that I want to do, so I'm going to create a new one. It brings up the rule creator, which, as you can see, you've got a bit of flexibility here. So you can decide if it's from someone specific, or if the subject contains something specific, or indeed it was sent to someone else. So if I wanted to send all emails that Janie sent to Amy and I'm CC'd on them into another mailbox, I can do. But for the moment, actually, I'm more interested in just emails that have a certain word within the title, because I know that they're regarding invoicing. So I'm going to get rid of all of this. I don't need to worry about these too much because I don't really handle invoicing. And then I've got my sort of if then what statement. So then I can decide where it goes. I can have a specific sound played. One of my clients, when his wife emails him, his machine goes do-do-do-do. But I'm actually going to choose to move it to a folder. Yeah, it's brilliant. The office knows then he's in a bit of a...
He's in trouble.
Yeah.
Particularly when he gets a lot of them.
Absolutely. So it's made an assumption that it thinks it knows where it wants to go, vendors or providers. I'm not happy with that, so I'm going to select the folder myself and I'm going to put that in clients. Hit OK. And then when I'm happy with my rule, hit OK. And at that point, not only is my rule saved, but it asks me if I want to run that rule at the time, which is brilliant for a spring clean. So,
will it go through all the emails and do it?
Yeah. So you've got the choice. You don't have to run it, but you can do. So basically this is saying, do you want to take any email that includes the word invoice to your subfolder of your choice. And I'm going to say yes, goes and does that, and it's taken my 307 down to 295. So I did obviously have some in there that satisfied that request.
Just going back to my original question, which was, I've got these old, they're not folders, they're emails. So I've got access to shared email boxes, which are now old. I want to keep the contents of them, but I don't want them appearing here because they're old projects. So we tend to have like a shared. So if you remember, when people logged on or had any questions, we were running a program. They emailed like
DCA workshop or something like that.
DCA workshop, or recently I think it was Accelerate and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I've got Accelerate.
Yeah,
I don't know
everyone's
where
got
they came from.
No, they had.
because Jamie's saying, well,
hyperconverged. I've just set that up. So everybody gets them.
They appear like this, I guess. They appear.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So what you can do, you can simply right click on it on that shared folder and click close, and it won't appear there. It's not deleting any of the emails, but it's just getting them out of your site.
And
so
how do you get them back?
to add a new one, you hit File. Oh, my Outlook's running like a dog today. You hit File and then Add Account. So you can add the shared mailbox back in should you wish.
Perfect. So
And
if
it's
you don't
fairly
want
easy to
get
do
rid of
that.
them, so I can get rid of my DCA. And you can get
It just kind of archives them in the background, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
No.
You might need the HPE Press one though, just in case if you have any joining instructions that go on this.
Yeah, I don't think we need to have a look at the use of them, like enquiries.
Yeah, that's for the website. Yeah.
No, I think
That's how I set up courses. So when I send out basically the reminder joining instructions, it takes the form of a meeting appointment, and that meeting appointment comes from the inquiries website.
I think you need to look at that.
Well, that's
because
the one on the website though that you told me at the time to have on the website.
Okay, so let me just say, I don't think when you send out reminder joining instructions, having it from enquiries is kind of, it's not the right name.
Right, so what would the right name be then?
Look at that.
What would the right name be then?
I don't know, but it's not inquiries. We'll think about that.
Yeah, maybe the training.
Well, it was just
support one.
doing something as opposed to waiting for something to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll think about that, Angela, as part of getting the whole job share communication method all set up.
I think Teams will help with that, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you can put that as an action somewhere, Angela. She's good at that.
Oh, we've got the admin call first thing in the morning, so I'll add it to
Yeah.
that. Yeah, let's add it to that, Angela.
Brill. Okay, so I've created this rule that says anything with invoice in it goes straight to my subfolder, which is buried. And so I do have to just bear in mind now that I've got to keep an eye out for any unread email that's been siphoned off to that subfolder.
Yeah.
So, just bear that in mind. If you find that too much is getting siphoned off and you want to, actually have that come back into your inbox, if you right click on any email and go down to rules and then manage rules and alerts, it takes you to your full list of rules that you've got created. I've got a huge amount, so as you can see, there's a load here, and you can simply just check them off and they'll no longer apply. Now, this is also worth bearing in mind, Janie, if you want stuff to come into your inbox but you want to use your rules as a spring cleaner, you can turn them off and then turn them back on again and it runs it, and you can also change them at this point as well if you want to. Cool. So if you prefer to have emails coming into your inbox, but you want to then quickly and easily siphon them off, one of the other places that you can use is the quick steps, which sit in the ribbon at the middle at the top. You will notice when you shrink your screen, they become less quick, or there's less options, but it's something that I use massively heavily, because like
Say that again.
So the central panel in the middle, quick steps, is something that you can use to siphon emails off, or do actions quickly. So it's not just moving emails out. It can be perhaps emailing a bunch of people at the same time, or forwarding an email to someone specific. So as you can see, all of mine are used specifically for certain clients. Right. You should recognise this one here, and it siphons things off nicely to their subfolder. I have, yeah. So to create one, if you drop down the current list of quick steps, you will have some because they come with, Outlook comes with its own. There's like forward to manager.
Right. Oh, is that website to manager?
Yeah.
Right, so I haven't got any new quick step. Okay.
Now actually, Amy's just showed me her screen and it reminds me that she hasn't got as much property, if you like, on her screen. She can't see as much. Everything's a bit more spaced out, and that's because she's using a touch device. And so Outlook has said, I'm going to be touch friendly. You'll notice in the top left hand corner of Outlook itself, you've got this option which is mouse or touch optimized.
Oh.
And if you switch between the two, it kind of spreads everything out. No. It's this finger pointer, which should be at the top left hand corner. Yeah. So I prefer to have mine on mouse because it gives me a bit more stuff to look at.
Where's that?
If you can't see it, there should be that little drop down, and then touch and mouse mode is what you're looking for.
Oh, I've got you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's another good one. I was thinking, because
everything seems a bit different.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's supposed to be a feature, but I don't know anyone that uses a Spectre or a Surface that actually touches the screen. So.
I do.
Do you? Oh, okay. Yeah. I take it back. Yeah. Janie does.
Yeah, because there I am with my mouse. We've got the same machine, and Janie's like.
Oh no, I can't.
The funny thing is, everybody else touches my screen too, and then it does all sorts of things. You'd be amazed about the number of people who don't have touch.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I touch my desktop touch screen, which isn't touch, which is frustrating. Anyway, so back to quick rules. As you can see, if you use the drop down, you can see the rest of your rules, and you can also use the new quick step to create a new one. So for example, you could quickly create a new meeting or email to someone specific or flag and move things away out of your inbox. So they are particularly useful, but I think the move to a folder is probably the most commonly used.
So that's what those are, move to a folder with your client.
Absolutely, yes. So they all go to the same folder, funnily enough, but it's encourages me.
Quick step just means you can do an action quickly.
Absolutely. So I'm going to do a Misco one as an example. I want to move the item to a folder. I can choose the folder. Let's just put it here, for example, and I can also mark it as red, so it's not building up those unread numbers. When I'm ready, hit finish, and it takes me to the top of the list of my quick steps.
Yeah.
Now, actually, I'm working with Misco a lot less these days. As an example, I can manage my quick steps and move them about as and how I see fit. So I can select that and move that down.
And then all that's in there is obviously all the emails that you'll put into that folder.
Yeah. And you can use it even if it's not a Misco email. It's just your own definition. Yeah. Brilliant. So that's quick steps, and then. So obviously that's sorted out. So normally I then talk about finding things, but I think we've done pretty much everything on search. Final thing I just want to focus on, which is specific to you guys, is this button, which by the end of the day will appear in the ribbon at the top of your Outlook.
I was going to say, it's not there at the minute.
Yeah, we've had to enable it at our side, but basically this is how we can hook directly into Dynamics. So this is when you hit it, you've got an email selected. It's basically saying, do I know Scott Baddock? Do I know Ian? And do I know Lucy? If I do, take a copy of this email and put it next to Scott, Ian, and Lucy's record in CRM so that everyone else can see it. What it also does, as you can see, is then provide me with information about Scott on the right-hand side that it knows from Dynamics.
Hang on. So, sorry, I've been thinking. If I got an email from you to me, and I've got that enabled, everything that you sent to me, everybody else could see?
Not everything, just that one email.
If you click on it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Right,
if you want to save a email.
Oh, right. I thought you meant it was like any email.
We could have it automatically tracking, but it was crazy. It's too much, So in the scenario that you're working on a specific project and there is a real vital email that's worth sharing, you can then hit track.
Okay.
Now,
so for instance, Karen, we could put all of our purchase orders somehow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I can't hear what you're saying, Jenny. You're too faint. What did you say?
Put all the purchase. We could put all the purchase orders.
I can't hear you.
CRM.
Put all the purchase orders emails in CRM. Track it.
Purchase order. You could actually find somehow every time you get a purchase order through an email, which you do, you could somehow associate them.
So you click that.
But it's no different than sending an email.
Top.
But this would make it in CRM. It would make it visible in CRM. I suppose it is no different to
I don't see the advantage over that over sending an email.
Yeah, I suppose the advantage is
CRM.
You don't have to action it really. I mean, you just track it. Nothing else is done, and it will sit in the communication history of in the central panel of that contact or that account.
Can I just ask a question? Just if we are to start doing that, I noticed in a conversation where Jamie, etc., where it had been enabled on CRM emails, there was still a really old load of emails in CRM still. and at one point we talked about getting rid of that. So we need to, before we start doing this, that all needs to be wiped clean almost, because there was a load of stuff back from April last year, Jan to April.
Right, Julie's got a question.
Hi there. Just a question on that contact details popping through and then you press dynamics. I don't suppose you can create a new record from that.
Beautiful segue again, Julie. So I was just searching my email for... Julie's question was, can you create new contacts in CRM from this button? And you absolutely can. So this email from Joe, new email, absolutely brilliant. I know he's going to be a great lead and a great opportunity, but I don't know whether he's in CRM or not. So I've hit the Dynamics 365 button, and quite nicely Dynamics has highlighted in orange that I don't have Joe as a contact or a lead. So it's gone off and understood that he doesn't exist. So at that point I can hit Dynamics, add to Dynamics 365 and create a contact or a lead straight out of here. I'm going to create Joe as a contact. And you'll notice it's tried to put as much information about Joe into this contact, so his first name, his last name, and his email. The only thing I need to do now is associate him to an account, because that's important for me to understand.
It didn't pick up his telephone number or anything.
It did, yeah. It's in his contact record in Exchange rather than reading through his signature. So his company is called Lodestar, so I'm going to search the CRM for Lodestar. The account doesn't exist, so I can hit the new button in the bottom left-hand corner to create the account.
That's good, isn't it? That makes it so much easier.
Oh, so much easier.
And then can you pick up the phone number easily?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can copy and paste the phone number. I know he's a sole trader, so I'll just put in his account record. I can save the account. It takes me straight back to the contact, and all I have to do is then hit save.
Question just on that phone number. Whereas before, when we were talking about we were going to text people and stuff, and we've got some people from foreign countries, and we're going to put +44. Do we have to agree as a organisation what that format is?
That's
like,
a good
whereas
point.
you put just 0,
Yeah.
or...
Yeah, I think it probably makes sense. I mean, we've got the country on each contact anyway, so we either decide to put in the country or we put in the dialing code.
Yeah, I don't know what's on CRM at the moment.
We can have a look in a minute. I'll make a note of that.
Just so
Can I go to the loo?
I need to go
Absolutely.
to
I'll pause the recording.
Stopping moment, but I don't want to go on.
Is that all right, ladies? I won't be a second.
Okay.
Cool. So in summary then, with the Dynamics 365 button, you're able to create new contacts and accounts if they don't exist already, or just track emails against records if they do exist. Now, one of the other things to also bear in mind, which I find particularly useful, especially when on the road and needing to assign things to other people, is this plus sign in the top right-hand corner. And here we can create new activities, phone calls or tasks. So say, and actually I very much do...
Where was that, on the plus just under your name?
Exactly, yeah. I very much do need to get back in touch with Joe. I'm going to set a task for Chris to do just that. So it brings up the task form. I can give a bit of a detail. It's automatically pulled in the email from Joe as the task description, but I can edit that if I want to. And when I'm happy, I can then obviously choose assign it off to Chris. He'll be happy with that, and hit save. Now that task not only sits within Chris's dashboard on CRM, but it also syncs down to his task list in Outlook as well, and also against Joe. So everyone knows that Chris has got to phone him whenever I've decided he needs to phone him.
And different people use, I know Angela uses like the tests. Like I tend to write it down and tick off rather than actually use it on here.
Yeah, I think that is personal.
It's good.
Yeah.
But it's good. It would just pop up, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I do very much use that. And likewise, anything that's blue on this record, I can then click and open it. So I could go and see Joe in more detail, or indeed Lodestar.
Oh, okay.
Brill. And then at any point, I can just get rid of the Dynamics button, and it's still tracking the email, but I'm not necessarily looking at it, or use the cross in the top right-hand corner. So it gives me a bit more space.
And once you've done that person, though, it wouldn't automatically track. You've still got to do each email.
Absolutely,
just to brilliant.
Absolutely, yeah. Brill. Now it might be that this email from Joe is about a particular opportunity that I'm working on, and I'm sharing that opportunity with Arthur, and I want him to be able to see it. I can also set it regarding something specific. So by set regarding, I mean Dynamics can't be clever about where this email sits because it doesn't have an email address. So I can hit set regarding. It brings up all of my recently looked at records. So a couple of contacts that I've been working on, some opportunities, and I can simply grab the opportunity that it relates to and it then sits against that opportunity, and I can click to see that opportunity in more detail. So nice and easy, and just really makes working with Dynamics much quicker.
Yeah.
So that's that. Okay, so moving on. Amy just mentioned, obviously, people use Outlook in different ways, but I do just want to focus on the calendar for a bit at the moment. Before we move to the calendar itself, one of my all-time favourite tips of using Outlook is to grab an email from your inbox and click and drag it over the calendar icon.
Right.
And what it does is it creates an appointment with the content of the email.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so now all you have to do is give it a subject.
That's good. Yeah.
Give it a subject and a time.
Okay, so you click the email.
Drag it over.
Yeah.
Click and drag it over to the icon,
Over calendar.
and it creates an appointment with all those details.
That's easy.
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure what you guys can see, but you might have a different set of icons in the bottom left-hand corner of Outlook. I prefer to have mine as icons rather than words, but you can change them easily by right-clicking on that section or navigating to navigation options, which is under the 3 dots. So you can choose to have it not compact and it becomes words.
What's the one that... Oh,
That really is up to you.
task. It was task that was the... like mail, calendar, people, tasks.
Yeah. And you can also change the order that they appear in. So if the task isn't important to you, you can move it down and get it out of your reach if you like. Brill. So now I've got the icons here. If you hover over them, obviously, as you can notice, you get a preview of whatever that other application is. This is quite useful, just, you're replying to an email, you want to see what you're doing on a specific day. But what I also find useful is this little icon in the top right-hand corner, which takes a smaller version of that application and docks it to the right-hand side. And you can have as many of those as you want. So I might want a snapshot of my contacts as well. I might want a snapshot of my tasks.
What's it called, that button?
It's called Dock the Peak.
Dock the peak.
Dock to the peak. I'd love to be part of the Microsoft team that makes the words up.
I bet they sit in a room like on their comfy
Yeah.
bean bags and yeah.
Oh, that looks like a peak to me. Yeah, and if you find that it's taken up too much space, you can just simply get rid of it by using the cross in the top right-hand corner. Yeah, particularly if you're at a desktop with a bigger screen, it makes much more sense. Yeah, but once you've got that and you've got Dynamics open, it can make the email really tiny.
Yeah.
So just obviously bear that in mind.
Yeah, but if you didn't want the preview pane, it's not too bad. Yeah.
Actually, that was quite a nice little example of the last activity someone else has had with Jace on this email. That's come straight from CRM. That was a task that happened last.
Ah.